Welcome back inside Reynolds Coliseum here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We've got a fantastic quad meet as we get started for rotation number 1. NC State's going to get started on the vault, but here is the format. 4 teams are going to compete on all 4 apparatuses at the same time. They're going to continue to rotate in Olympic order, so vault, bars, beam, floor. Again, the home team gets the advantage of starting on vault and ending on floor. As always, 6 gymnasts per team. The top 5 scores count. The lowest score can be dropped from each team's event and team total. So rotation order, NC State will be on vault. The University of Pennsylvania is going to get started on the uneven bars. Penn State is going to start on beam, and Texas women's will be on the floor. So Sydney, we always get that question on, is it better to start on beam or end on beam? And Penn State's they get the lucky spot of starting.
Right, I think I would rather start on beam. Also, it boosts your confidence when, in postseason, you never know what event you're gonna start on. So I think starting on, I'd say, the hardest event and getting it kind of out of the way just allows you to kind of let loose and have a good rest of the meet.
Absolutely, and we've seen a lot of quad meets as of lately as teams start to get ready for postseason, where postseason is not a dual meet anymore. There are multiple teams, sometimes multiple sessions.
One thing, too, we talked to all these coaches about are that some people forget the gymnastics and the physical part is one thing, but there's a mental aspect that plays a role in postseason with being on podium or all teams going at once or the cameras in your face. That can make a difference, and you've got to, train like that and really be prepared for that.
Yeah, I think one of the other big differences, too, is the corrals at postseason where your teammates can't be right next to you. So that's always an interesting one. And you might start to see in some of these later season meets that the teams kind of huddle together so that they can mimic or replicate that corral aspect. So the judges are getting ready to take control of their events. NC State, again, going to get started on the vault with Maddie Hall in the leadoff spot. Maddie's been in this leadoff spot for quite some time now. Last week, actually the last couple of meets, she went 9.825 and 9.65. So really focused here on not only the dynamics, but those landings that have been critical for all of these teams.
She's getting their rotation started with that. Yurchenko, stop, fall.
That's exactly what she wanted to start off the meet. Moving right over to Texas women's. On the floor, we've got Emily 6. And there you see Penn State on balance beam. Ava Piedrita in the leadoff spot.
Really nicely done acro series.
For Penn State, this is one of their 2 all-arounders that we'll see this afternoon. The only team without an all-arounder is Texas women's. They've got some 2 and 3 event specialists, but nobody on all 4 that we'll see.
Over on the floor, we just saw an unfortunate fall on that double back on our last pass. Just over-rotated it a little too much. And then right over to the beam, a stuck round off 1.5 dismount. What a great leadoff for Penn State.
Yeah, fantastic job out of Piedrita. We did miss Lex Ortega's vault for the Wolfpack.
Another Yurchenko full. That was pretty much a stick in place, I'd say.
Hop in place, but they may still take a small deduction on that one, unfortunately.
I think they'll definitely take a deduction on that, but I did like the height that she got off the table. That was one of her better vaults that I've seen her do this year.
Definitely. Up next is going to be Krista Zoltovich, one of their seniors out of Pennsylvania. Another Yurchenko full.
Nice block, and wow, I would say another stick in place. That's what we're calling it. Nicely done, though.
So far, this Wolfpack team is on a roll, and I love their debut of their new leotards.
We'll take another look here at this full. Nice block off the table. A little bit piked down on that landing, but she knew where it was and was able to control it. Again, at this point in the season, they're wanting those controlled landings, and those little details are what each team is going to be focusing on, because that small tenth or small half a tenth can really make up a big difference at the end of a meet.
Take our first look over at the University of Pennsylvania on the uneven bars.
You can see she did that bail to handstand, saved it because she could have fallen over on that. Really good save, though. Moving through the routine and ending with a blindfold, double tuck. Nicely done.
So a fantastic bar routine for the Quakers as Ashley Knight completes her vault.
Oh, she almost had that stick. I know I've said it before, but that's one of my favorite vaults to watch, just with how big it is, how much power she has.
Fantastic job as a freshman as we move over to Gabrielle Galentine on beam. Just getting set for her dismount.
Round off 1.5. She looked a little bit lost on that landing, so that'll be a bigger deduction for that step forward.
This is Madeline Gose for Texas Women's.
Starts off with really nice double pike. They're really going to be looking for these next routines to be good and clean hits after that first fall.
So Emily Shepard for the Wolfpack.
Huge Ortega fault. Wow, I think that might have been a stick, yeah.
Every time.
Notice the distance. Not only did she have a ton of height on that, but just the distance from the table to her landing, and she just absolutely nailed that. That'll be a big score for NC State.
All right, so up next on beam for Penn State, this is Kalia McGilligan.
Over on floor, ending with that front handspring Rudy. Nice routine to get them back on track.
Zara Gazdak on the uneven bars for the Quakers.
Nice blind full. Really high double tuck to a stuck dismount.
Chloe Negretti on her vault.
Another big Yurchenko full. You know, I really liked on all of their vaults, I know I said it before, but that controlled landing. They all looked very tight and confident and just aware of what was going on in their landings, and that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely, and one of the big discussions in gymnastics this year has been, do we stick to the 995 start value on those Yurchenko fulls and get the landing, or do we try to throw the 10 and take that risk? And so I think NC State put a really strong vault team together today. So McGilligan finishing up as NC State's got an exhibition.
Really nicely done, too. Another good controlled landing. Nice height off the table. When you're doing these fulls and you're starting from a 995, it's so crucial that the execution is spot on in order to get those high scores.
Absolutely. And in all honesty, NC State is graduating 4 of their vault lineup, so they can use all of the exhibitions possible. All right, so back over to floor. This is Steely King.
Starting off with a huge double pike. Looks like she kept her foot in bounds, but she did have a bigger lunge on that.
Jordan Barrow on the right side of your screen there on the uneven bars.
A nice 1.5 front layout on floor.
This is Amani Herring on beam for Penn State.
She starts out with a nice front toss to a back handspring.
One of the more unique acro series that we've seen.
The left side of your screen, a floor just ended with a really nice, almost open double back, which is difficult to do as your last pass. She could have had a little bit more control on that landing.
So Steely King last week a 9.8 for that floor routine.
So far, so good on this beam routine. Really solid. Looking for a stick. Oh, wow, and she was on her tippy toes on that landing, but great job.
Definitely
holding
dug
that
in there.
You'd be impressed with how strong gymnasts' feet and toes are. I mean, just gripping the ground, trying to get those sticks. Anything for a stick, right?
Absolutely. So a great routine for the sophomore for Penn State as we take a look back over on the floor for Texas women's. Right side of your screen there, Sophia Paris on the uneven bars.
I love that bail to handstand, just the extension that she's getting throughout the bar routine. Double tuck, dismount, small hop backwards. But I liked the extension throughout that entire bar routine. Showing off those lines.
So NC State is completed on their first event. We've still got one bar routine and a couple beam and floor routines left in rotation number 1. This is Emma Burlich, junior out of Tampa, Florida. Bella Salcedo on beam for the Nittany Lions. Salcedo also a junior out of Arlington, Texas.
You could see right there on that first pass, she did a front tuck through to that double tuck.
I like this view of the beam because it's similar to what the judges see. You can really see if some of those splits are 180 degrees, even though our camera's up a little higher. But this is very similar to what those judges you see behind the beam actually view when they're writing on their paper.
Over on floor, ending with a double pike. She had to hold that double pike a little bit longer. One thing I think I'd like to see from Texas women's is just more sharpness on those landings, because they're great tumbling passes, but again, I think it would be less deduction if they were a little bit sharper.
Absolutely. So a great job out of Burlich on that floor routine as we move back over to Penn on the uneven bars. Skylar Carrico.
Beautifully done dismount. Small hop backwards on that, but she had really great form throughout that bar routine. Let's take another look here at her dismount. You could see the full twisting double back right there. Sometimes it's harder to land on that mat that's so squishy. It kind of gives you more of a bounce, I would say, instead of really absorbing the mat.
Absolutely. And the gymnast, there's no deduction for that. The gymnast can put a 4-incher in. That one's an 8-inch mat.
They can choose, right?
There's sting mats that we see on floor a lot of times. So they can choose the mat of their landing preference. So floor and beam, both starting at the same time for beam. This is Maddie Johnston for Penn State. And then we've got Daisy Woodring for Texas Women's.
Really beautiful double pike. She broke out of that so easily, and this is a event for her that she went so high on Friday. She had a 9.85, so they're going to be looking to count a big score from her tonight. A little bit shaky on that sheep jump on.
I give a lot of these teams credit for competing midweek, a Thursday, Friday meet, and then turning around and doing it again on Sunday, especially for those that are in the all-around.
It really is so difficult, and since we're already in March, it really does wear and tear on your body too, as well as the mental aspect of it all. So really impressive that all these teams have been able to do that.
We talked to the Penn State coach prior to the meet, and one of her reasons behind it was the last couple times they've made postseason, they've been part of the play-in to regionals, to where they do have to do 2 full meets back-to-back.
Absolutely, and you could just see that double tuck to end that routine. I love the personality throughout, but wow, she nailed that, and that is going to be a high score.
Fantastic job out of Daisy Woodring for the Pioneers.
I just, wow, on this open up. Did you see how high her chest was on the landing?
She knew exactly where she was at. And then, like you said, a bunch of personality on this floor routine. So we've got 5 down, 1 to go for Texas women. This is an exhibition on bars. This is Connie Sue, one of the seniors out of Franklin, Tennessee.
Blindfold into that double tuck dismount. She did hit her feet on the bar. I don't know if you could notice that on the cameras, but she hit her feet but was still able to pull that around, so well done.
This is Ashley Mull for Penn State.
Back handspring, back layout acro series, a little bit off, but saved it from being a bigger deduction.
Ashley's doing an exhibition routine. And then the final floor competitor, this is Sophie Hernandez. Sophie, a season high on this event of a 9.95.
She starts with that front tuck through to double pike. We've seen a lot of powerful tumbling and really good passes from this Texas women's floor team.
I feel like the level of gymnastics, like just the caliber of gymnastics across the board, even from some of the schools that you don't typically hear of, the level, the bar has just been raised so much.
Absolutely.
It's always good to see when programs are added to the NCAA, which again just gives more gymnasts the opportunity to keep competing.
You can see she did that 1.5 front layout and did step out of bounds. So that'll be an extra deduction there.
So a fantastic finish for Sophie and the Pioneers on floor. All the other events are completed, but I do believe we have one exhibition. So while we wait for the score to come in, we're going to take another quick look.
This front tuck through to a huge double pike. And then right here, notice, nicely done tumbling pass. It was a little bit off to that right side, which cut off some of the distance that she had, which is why she stepped out.
And for those that are new to watching gymnastics, the big thing with that out of bounds is that 1/10 deduction comes off of the average score. So if the judges calculate their scores, they come up with a 9.7, it automatically lowers to a 9.6. So that can make a really big difference in that overall team total. So while we wait for the exhibition, let's talk a little bit about just some of the points of emphasis for floor.
Yeah, you see there, difficulty, presentation, and landings. Difficulty is huge. The judges really want to see those bigger skills, and you know, now we're seeing a lot of 2-pass floor routines. I would say the 3-pass, you know, obviously goes a little bit longer of a way sometimes because that does add to that difficulty. The presentation, that's the artistry, the dance that we're seeing. Even though people may think it doesn't play a role, you can get deducted for artistry. And then the landings, we want to see those controlled 1 lunge or 1-step landings on each tumbling pass.
Absolutely. So exhibition, this is Cami Zerlingo. She's a sophomore out of Littleton, Colorado. All these teams really, again, looking at what routines are they going to have to replace for next year. There's a lot of seniors, super seniors, the graduate students that got an extra year due to COVID, but that's ending. And so there's a lot of teams that are going to have to replace several scores over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and we talk about these exhibition routines, which, depending on the team, it's nice to have, you know, 7, 8, even 9 gymnasts in your lineup, but that's a little friendly competition that you have each and every day in practice, and that's what you don't see here on the TV screens, is that they're having, you know, a competition every day in the gym trying to fight for those top 6 lineup spots.
And we actually talked to some of the head coaches that were planning to warm up 7, 8, even 9 gymnasts just a couple hours ago, and then was going to pick the best ones from those.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple times, which is definitely an interesting way to do it. But a lot of teams, like you said, they'll warm up a couple and then pick the best 6 that day.
Absolutely. So Cami Zerlingo finishing up on the floor exercise. That means we're 1 rotation down right now. NC State's got a fairly narrow lead, just a little over 2/10 in that, with Penn and Penn State both tied at a 49. We're going to take a quick break and come back with rotation number 2. Welcome back to Raleigh, North Carolina. We are ready for action as the gymnasts finish up their touch period for rotation number 2. There you see there again the scores after rotation number 1, with NC State in the lead. Penn tying their season high on the uneven bars with a 49. And Penn State had that spot of starting on beam, ending up with a 49 as well. We're going to keep moving through the rotations, taking a look at the lineups. Texas women's going to be over on vault. And there you see, similar to NC State, 4 out of 6 of those lineup spots are taken by seniors.
One thing I was impressed with that you just mentioned was Penn State starting on beam and starting with that 49 right out of the gate. That's just something to highlight.
Absolutely. NC State moving on to the uneven bars. A good mix of their upper and underclassmen at this point, but being anchored by 2 of their seniors. Penn going to be on the balance beam with 4 seniors starting off their lineup. And then Penn State is going to be moving to the floor exercise. No seniors in their lineup this afternoon, but again, a great slew of individuals, including 2 all-arounders that we'll get to see on all 4 events. So this is Ashley Mull getting some last words of wisdom from her coach as Texas women takes to the vault. This is Emily Six. She was in the leadoff spot on floor as well.
She starts with her Yurchenko full. Notice how she had to pike down on that landing, so that's going to be where the biggest deduction comes from. But a solid leadoff for Texas women's.
Ashley Mull just debuted on this event last week, a freshman from Spring, Texas. Went 9.775 and 9.8, so very strong start. Right over to the balance beam. This is Kirsten Belkoff. Again, University of Pennsylvania seniors in the first 4 spots on this beam team.
She starts out that routine with the triple series. Very difficult, back handspring, back layout. Into another difficult switch leap sheep jump. So far, so good on balance beam. Over on floor. Last tumbling pass, that 1.5 front layout. You can see the jump she connected out of that, which adds more difficulty. But a nice solid start for Penn State. And then almost had that stick on beam, that 1.5.
Trying to hold on.
I've been really impressed with the sticks, though, so far. And the attempts to stick. We've seen a couple small steps here and there.
So for NC State, this is Kaylee Adamides on the uneven bars, a sophomore from Long Island.
She starts that routine with the Maloney. Right down to the low bar with that packed. She's another gymnast that has such beautiful extensions. Looked like she missed her foot or missed that straddle. But covered it well, just did a kip and redid it. I mean, that's, you know, making adjustments in between the routine.
It'll definitely be a deduction. Again, something that maybe the average viewer wouldn't have noticed.
Right.
But definitely something that the judges notice. This is Peyton Childs for the Wolfpack.
She starts out with that Jaeger release move right into that shoot over to the low bar.
So Adamides with that air, not necessarily a fall, but an air.
Blindfolded double tuck.
But Childs able to pull it back for the Wolfpack team as we move back over to Penn State on the floor. This is Alyssa Kramer.
Really difficult. Front handspring, double full punch front.
Kramer, a freshman from State College, Pennsylvania. So one of their local gymnasts. Sophia Isabel on vault.
Huge Yurchenko full.
Sorry, I believe that was Steely King actually on vault.
Really nicely done vault though. Love the amplitude and the block she got. Over on beam, we just saw another triple series. Back handspring, back layout.
I believe this is Sarah Kennefick on the balance beam. Not to be confused with Anna Kennefick, who's going to be competing right after her.
We just saw on floor That last pass was that Rudy into that beautifully done back handspring, back layout step out.
Madeline Reed for the Wolfpack on the right side of your screen, as Kennefic finishes up her beam routine. The Kennefic sisters, seniors from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Then that dismount was a little bit short. Looked like her knee almost hit. She kept it from not hitting, otherwise that would have counted as a fall. So great save on that, but again, that'll be a heavy deduction.
You saw Daisy Woodring on the left side of your screen there for vault for Texas women's.
Take another look. She had plenty of height, just not enough rotation. She knew it as soon as she landed. But hey, she saved it from being a fall.
So final spot for Texas women's. This is going to be Caitlin Holland on vault, as Daisy Woodring puts up a 9.8 right before her. Beam and floor both getting ready to be started. So again, Anna Kennefic on balance beam for the University of Pennsylvania.
Really nice Yurchenko full. Didn't have enough control on that landing. That was a pretty significant hop backwards, but I love the entry into it. Just has to be a little more clean on the landing, and that'll be a high score.
Ava Pedrita on floor for Penn State.
She starts off with the full in. We don't see too many of those because of the difficulty in that skill.
And then Katie Harper is going to be up next for the Wolfpack on bars. Back over to vault. This is an exhibition from Cami Zerlango. Again, exhibition on the floor as well as vault. They've got 4 seniors that they're going to be needing to replace for next year as Katie gets started on her bar routine.
And so far, so good. She did a Ginger release move and has had really good form throughout. Also in the upper left box on floor, we just saw that double tuck to end the routine. And wow, that was good.
A fantastic routine from both Penn State and NC State. So Texas women's is complete on vault. Vault is always hard because it goes so quick, and then you've got beam and floor that take quite a bit longer. So Texas women's is through 6 plus an exhibition. We are midway through the floor lineup. And beam taking a little bit longer to get their next gymnast up. So right back over to the floor. This is Amani Herring. Herring, a sophomore out from Denville, New Jersey.
Getting ready for her first tumbling pass here. Really difficult skill. We do not see that as a first pass often, that Arabian.
Absolutely. So a fantastic leadoff as Lex Ortega finishes up her routine for the Wolfpack. And then Anna Kennefic, you see on the top left of your screen.
Over on beam, that round off 1.5 dismount, a hop in place, but nicely done. Then straight over to floor, that 1.5 front layout to finish the routine. That's gonna be a good score for Penn State.
What a great routine out of Herring on the floor exercise. I want to take another look at this first tumbling pass.
Just watch the height she gets on that Arabian. Front landing is always difficult, and she had no problem with it. Again, that's going to be a big score for their floor lineup.
I think she knew it too with the smile after that last tumbling pass. So career high on that event of a 9.95 as we move back over to the bars with Emily Shepard.
She's gonna start this routine with the straddle Jaeger. Down to that low bar with her pack salto. NC State's really looking for a big score out of Shepard on this routine, and so far, she could get one if she could get a stick right here on this huge dismount. Wow.
Every time.
A cold stick right there, and that's exactly what they were looking for.
Every time. That career high just a couple weeks ago of a 9.975 on the uneven bars. It'll be close. I don't know if it'll quite be there, but pretty close as we move back to Kalia McElligott on floor for Penn State and Campbell Marr on the balance beam for the Quakers.
She starts off with the back handspring back layout acro series. One thing too from this Penn team on balance beam is just the form that they've had throughout all their routines is something I've loved to see. On floor, we saw that double pike first pass. She stayed in bounds. The air awareness that these athletes have is crazy, to know where you're actually at mid-air.
Absolutely.
It's like a superpower.
It is, and even if you'll see them, you know, if the gymnast is off of the diagonal perfectly by a foot, they know not to step forward. They'll step sideways so that they don't go out of bounds.
And then that stunt gainer full off the side for Campbell Marr. Really impressive beam routine.
So Campbell Marr finishing up that 4th spot for the University of Pennsylvania as Kalia gets ready for her final tumbling pass.
We'll see a big double tuck from her. No issues on the height there. She was able to break out. And when we're referring to these floor landings and the controlled landings, it's their chest being up, not down, not knees or legs too squatty. We'll take another look here.
So pay attention to the landing.
See the block she gets in the beginning, and then she's landing almost like she's sitting up, right? And that's what the judges are ultimately looking at when deciding how much to take off.
So McGillicott in the 5th spot. We've got one more for the Nittany Lions. Bella Salcedo will be in that 6th place spot. Back over to the beam, this is Skylar Carrico in place number 5. And there are some teams, so the lineup order matters. There's some teams that put all their strong scores at the end. There's some that start off with their lead score. Every team has a slightly different strategy.
And it's interesting to see and hear about the different strategies that different teams and coaches have. That's always something I've been so curious about. Wow, and a huge double front. Also, a difficult tumbling pass we don't see often. So I've loved just the variety in Penn State's tumbling.
Super fun to watch. Like you said, you just don't see that often.
Yeah, and that double Arabian we saw and the double front are those front landings, which are absolutely more difficult.
Again, Skylar Carrico on the left side of your screen. Just a small wobble out of her acro series.
One thing to point out too is that now that these teams are gearing up for postseason, it's not as much about hitting those 6-for-6 routines. That's expected at this point. You know, in the beginning of season when you're playing around with lineups or it's the first couple of meets, you expect some mistakes here and there, but now it's not about the falls or about the hits. It's about how are we going to get that extra 10th. Really nice tumbling run there.
And these meets could come down to a quarter 10th being the deciding factor, especially when you get into postseason.
Absolutely.
So Salcedo finishing up the Penn State lineup on floor at the midway point. We've still got one beam routine.
I wanted to take another look here at this last pass because there was so much going on. That front layout to a front full and then to a huge front pike. That's 3 skills in a row that she made look way too easy.
And that's what we always talk about, saying that last tumbling salto, you want to rise. And she did a fantastic job at showing us the way it should be done.
I was gonna say, I think the first one was the lowest and she got a little higher in the second and then even higher on the third. So that was textbook.
So a great job out of the Penn State floor team. Samantha Wu in the anchor spot for the Quakers on beam. So University of Pennsylvania had an interesting order for their beam routine with 4 seniors starting off, so some of the more experienced ones, and ended with some upper or underclassmen.
Your leadoff spot on beam is, in my opinion, one of the most difficult spots out of any lineup, but also any anchor position that you have is also difficult, especially no matter freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, but freshman anchoring is also really impressive.
Absolutely. So you saw the tail end of a judges conference for the last beam routine. So discussing Skylar Carrico's beam performance, and typically it's when they're not in range. So the judges have to be within 2/10 of each other for the score to actually be averaged. If they're outside of that 2/10, then they have to come together and figure out why, essentially. So they got it taken care of, and now we get to watch the sophomore anchor this University of Pennsylvania beam team.
Really nice front aerial combination there to start off the routine. I loved how graceful that back handspring back layout was. She was so light on the beam and on her toes all throughout.
So far, she seems to be the most confident out of the beam routines we've seen. They've had some really great execution, but then you see just little minor wobbles throughout.
Confidence is huge on every event, but especially on beam. I don't know, Rachel, what are your thoughts on the fake it till you make it? Because I feel like that's what we always used to say and joke about, but it wasn't really a joke. We were, you know, you got to fake it till you make it.
Absolutely. So, and beam is one of those events, if you don't love beam, then you're not going to perform well. So here's that acro series again, very well done, well executed.
And then into this dismount, this gainer back pike off the back. She was mad about not getting that stick, but really nice and beautiful routine to watch.
You see those little facial cues because they do this day in and day out. This is what they practice so much for. And for it not to translate from the gym to the competition floor, they get mad at themselves.
Yeah, and I think one thing to note on that is just you want it so, so bad. So you have to be able to find that balance of not going too much, but also not holding back. You've got to, you know, meet yourself in the middle, but it's so difficult and it's a lot harder than you think. So all of these athletes have done an amazing job, but yes, you could see it on their faces, or even, like we said, gripping in their toes. Their toes are, you know, trying so hard to stay still because they want it so bad.
They are definitely doing their best, and not just for them, but for their team as well. So we do have one beam exhibition while we wait for Samantha Wu's score to be tallied.
That's the best part about college gymnastics, is it's such a team sport. It's an individual sport, maybe, because you're up on the events by yourselves, but it's ultimately a team sport.
It's as team as you can make gymnastics. A lot of these gymnasts coming from club gymnastics where it really is individualized. So this is Olivia Van Horn. She's a junior out of Audubon, Pennsylvania.
Wow, I loved that front aerial to the front handspring.
Very unique acro series.
Great toe point and form also. That's something to point out. When the judges are looking too, you can tell during the routines, when the form is really good, it just looks better, right? And sometimes
Absolutely.
Form can be harder to teach. So I would always prefer a clean, more basic routine that just looks really pretty over a routine that you're packing with difficulty, but your form is all over the place, right?
Absolutely, very well said. Very well said. So the cleanliness has something to do with it. So we are midway through. NC State still in the lead, but narrowly. And again, many don't say that the meet doesn't start until you get to beam, which is where NC State is headed. So stick around for the third out of 4 rotations. Welcome back as we head to the beginning of rotation number 3. Again, NC State with the narrow lead over Penn State, followed by University of Pennsylvania and Texas women's. NC State going to be on balance beam for their third rotation, where they put up a high score of a 49.425 just the other day. So Penn State going to be on the vault. There we've got a great look at the lineup with the 2 all-arounders, Kalia McGillicuddy and Abra Pedrita, anchoring on that rotation. Texas women's over to the uneven bars after a great vault lineup win, anchored with, again, their senior Caitlin Hoyland. NC State's beam rotation anchored by that triple threat in 3 of their graduate seniors, so tons of experience coming in on the back half of that Wolfpack team. Again, coming off of a season high over 49.4 just the other day. And Pennsylvania will be on the floor exercise. Again, a fantastic lineup, great mix between under and upperclassmen as they look to hit that 49 barrier on this event. So the team touch is done. The judges have taken control of their events, and Penn State's going to get started on the vault with Jessica Johansson.
She starts out with that nice Yurchenko full. Great landing on that. I would have loved to have seen a little more height off the table, but again, a solid vault.
Meg Adler for the Wolfpack on beam, the sophomore just down the road out of Chapel Hill.
Beautiful back handspring, back layout, acro series.
Texas women's on the uneven bars is Lainey Hunt.
Saw an unfortunate fall from her on that release move.
And then Anna Kennefick for Penn on the floor.
A round off double pike to start that floor routine.
Always tough to get back up after a fall on the uneven bars, just the momentum.
Sometimes we see athletes having to redo the entire bar routine to get that bonus and credit for whatever skill it was that they missed. Nice handstand on top of the bar, though. She held that for a couple of seconds. And then ends with a stuck double tuck. So way to go on pulling the routine back around and finishing off nicely.
Adler finishing up her beam routine. A season high of 9.85. Looked like a pretty good beam routine.
That was a really good beam routine. Solid start for NC State.
So Adler with some high fives all around as Anna Kennefick finishes up her floor routine for the Quakers. So Kalia McGillicuddy for the Nittany Lions on vault.
Really nice block on that table. That's going to be a solid score for Penn State.
So 3 of 4 done for Kalia. As Maddie Johnston takes to the vault.
Wow, great job. She could have easily taken a step forward on that landing, but she saved it. That was just a quick and easy Yurchenko full, it looks like, for her.
Absolutely. Macy Jennings for the Wolfpack, their beam specialist. Zara Gazdek for the University of Pennsylvania on floor. And then for Texas women's on the uneven bars, this is Cami Zarlengo, who we've seen exhibition a couple of times.
She's really going to be looking to get this team back on track for Texas women. She starts out with that pike through Jaeger release move. Down to the bail to handstand. She's moving this through this routine really nicely. She's gonna look for a stuck dismount here on bars, double layout, and she held on. Might have a slight deduction on that lean forward, but way to get them back on track. She did her job.
Absolutely. And again, you put up 6, you only count 5, so they can drop that first score as Jennings finishes up her beam routine.
With a stuck dismount. I feel like we have seen quite a few sticks tonight, which is really exciting.
Absolutely. Zara finishing up her floor routine.
The double pike.
So Pennsylvania looking for that 49 on floor. The last couple of meets just under at a 48.825 and then a 48.925 on Thursday. Over on vault, Amani Herring.
Another Yurchenko full. Slight pike down on that landing, but great distance from the table.
So for the Wolfpack, in that third spot is going to be Katie Harper, the freshman out of Columbus, Ohio. Bella Salcedo.
Wow, really difficult vault. You could see she did that round off twisted mid into, you know, the block.
So fast.
Yeah, such a quick twist. You might not have caught that, but ends with that front pike and front landing.
Leah Gilmore for Texas women's on bars. Again, while Harper's midway through her beam routine.
On beam, that Really graceful back handspring, back layout. We got another stick on bars on that double back dismount. They're really picking it back up for Texas women's.
And TW really, again, looking for a good away score to add to their NQS. So back over to the floor exercise. This is Marissa Lassiter.
On beam, we saw Harper do that front toss. No problems there. Now this dismount, front full. Wow, and she stuck it.
She's got a career high on this event. I believe just the other day, 9.875, and looking for another big score. Ava Piedrahita for Penn State on vault.
Wow.
Another very quick Yurchenko half on front pike.
That was one of the prettiest vaults we've seen today. She made that
look. It definitely was.
Like she
I loved your reaction.
Yeah,
your reaction.
That was a raw reaction. Wow.
Lassiter on the floor with her team in front, just doing all the choreography. On the uneven bars, it's Brooke Ferrari.
Really strong handstand right on top of the bar to start that routine. And so far, she's flowing through this routine really nicely.
So we've talked about some very unique skills. Lex Ortega with her unique acro series coming up.
Wow, that bar routine was also a stuck double layout dismount. Just incredible form throughout, something that the judges are really gonna like to see.
Texas women's a 49.125 as a season high on floor, and they are putting up some big numbers.
Absolutely, we just saw, like you mentioned, Lex Ortega do that difficult back handspring into the Anodi as her acro series. And she's been rock solid on this. I know in the past she's had a couple of issues, but so far since we've watched her, I have not seen any.
I feel like last year she had some issues with it, but this year she seems really solid.
Absolutely, and solid on that dismount as well.
Absolutely love it. NC State looking to push another 49.4 on beam as we move back over to Penn on the floor. Skylar Carrico currently on the screen, the sophomore out of Toms River, New Jersey. A season high of a 9.85.
She started out with that 1.5 front layout. One thing I like about her is just the sharp movements that she has in her dance and in her tumbling.
Looking like she is having a ton of fun as Caroline Bounds gets ready to finish up her bar routine.
She ends with that blindfold double tuck.
Oh,
just over-rotated on that landing. She had enough height and it seemed like enough power, but sometimes when you're doing those double tucks and you're grabbing your legs, you pull a little too much.
Just held on a little too long. And I was thinking throughout the routine, I was like, this is gonna be great. They can drop that first score. And I thought too early.
Yeah, unfortunately, they'll have to count a fall. But over on floor, nicely done, double back to finish off that routine.
So Carrico wraps up as Emily Shepard mounts the beam.
talk about sharp movements, Emily Shepard also just is so elegant but sharp in her dance movements and in her skills too. We'll see here this back handspring back layout acro series. Spot on with that.
There you saw that score come in from Brooke Ferrari on bars for Texas women, a 9.925. But unfortunately, they will have to count a fall.
You can see the confidence throughout this beam routine. She's right on cue, just flows through. She is in her own little rhythm, in her own little bubble.
She makes it look too easy.
She really does. And right now, if she could get this stuck dismount, it's going to be a really high score for Emily Shepard. She got it.
Held on.
She held on. She didn't have to do an arm circle, but you could tell she was leaning back a little bit. Great job.
So a fantastic finish for Shepard on the beam as we move over. Caitlin Hoyland, on the uneven bars as Sarah Kenefick takes to the floor.
Really nice bar routine so far. I love the handstands, and wow, she just stuck right up on that double tuck dismount.
And
Nicely
Texas
done.
women's, yeah, they can swing bars. Just a couple unfortunate mishaps today.
Yeah, just the extensions and the toe point that I've seen throughout some of the gymnasts for Texas women on bars, I've been really impressed with. She ends with that front double full, which is another really difficult skill.
So Kenefick finishing up a season high of a 9.875. I feel like that routine may be fairly close as we move back over to beam with Chloe Negretti.
Really nice front aerial to back handspring. This is an athlete that you want on your beam team, on your team in general, but on your beam team, just because of how fierce of a competitor she is. And I mean, look at her up there. It's like an intimidation, but also in the best way, that she just looks like she's gonna attack the event, and she does it every single time.
And again, NC State already put up 5 for 5 on beam. So Chloe can just kind of leave it all out there as we have an exhibition on bars for Texas women's.
A nice high Jaeger release move over on bars. Negretti is going to be looking for the stick on this double fall. And she got it. She moved back a little bit.
That's the hard part, is that she has to hold it for 1 second. So was that the 1 second?
I think last year it would have been a stick, but this year with the new rule, I think that's going to be a little deduction, but that does not take away from the gorgeous beam routine that
Absolutely.
she just did. Let's see again.
We'll take another look. I think I can count to 1, but you can tell she's still moving.
Can see
her toes.
Kim Landris, her hands are in the air, like that is a stick.
I'm done. Salute the judges. All right, Emma Davies finishing up for Penn on floor.
That was a huge double pike she did. She had too much power, so unfortunately did go out of bounds. But I always say too much power is a good problem to have.
The coaches would definitely rather you err on the I went too big side than I held back and fell.
Absolutely.
So, exhibition by Maddie Hall for the Wolfpack. Maddie's been in and out of lineup, but keeping her in this exhibition spot, again, kind of keeps her in that mentality in case they need her, but also as they look at replacing senior routines for next year.
Yeah, and like we've said a couple times throughout the broadcast, now that we are nearing the postseason and championships and regionals, you're kind of in a rhythm with your team in that lineup. When you're in practice and you're training every day, you just become used to, here's the lineup. There's not really too many adjustments, I'd say, that will be made unless somebody gets hurt or they need to take them out. I would say you're trying to, you know, have that simulation of the lineup in the practice is what we're competing with so that there aren't any changes in competition.
So far, so good for Maddie. We do have one exhibition on floor as well for Pennsylvania. Just a small hop on that landing out of Maddie, but NC State's beam team just put up a big number.
And we've seen them do that all year. You know, they have just continued to climb and peak at the right time. A lot of coaches, I think, will say, we just want to peak at the right time. And what that really looks like is you want to be having those high scores when the NQS is starting to count, and obviously at your regionals and championship meet.
Absolutely. You definitely want your gymnasts in the best shape with the most confidence. Right here at the end of season, most of these teams only have 1 week left until that conference championships, and then after that it's regionals, nationals.
That's when we used to say, hey, now you're on autopilot.
Yes.
Like, you've done the work, you've done the training, you're strictly on autopilot. And that's what we used to say when I was competing. That was the motto. Which
you should be.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't have that skill by now,
you're not getting it. No.
You're not getting it in season. Work on it for next year. All right, so in the exhibition spot, this is Marigold Garrett, a junior out of Sherborne, Massachusetts.
She starts off with a front full, front full. I like that combination.
I will say, both with Penn and Texas women's, I've been really impressed with their gymnastics, with the cleanliness of it.
That's one thing, yeah, that we were saying earlier is it's hard to teach good form. It's doable, but it's just more difficult. And I've loved, like you said, just the execution and the cleanliness that we've seen throughout. And that's something that the judges really like as well.
Yeah, some really great gymnastics out of all four teams. So that should wrap up rotation number 3. There you see NC State still in the lead, extends it by just a few tenths. And we're going to take a quick break while we get ready for the 4th and final rotation here in Raleigh. Welcome back inside Reynolds Coliseum. We're getting closer and closer to the postseason. And NC State still on top inside Reynolds. They're going to be headed to the floor where we will see them close out with their 3 graduate seniors. They call them their triple threat, which is always fun to watch. Penn is going to be on the vault. So again, you see a great mix-up there. Ranked number 1 in the GEC on this event, and so we've seen some really good gymnasts out of this Penn team. Penn Penn State is going to be on the uneven bars, ranked number 33 on this event with an NQS over 49. So looking forward to some really exciting gymnastics out of Penn State. Texas women's finishing up on balance beam, which is always a tough spot to be in. But there you see it is a slew of upperclassmen with only one freshman thrown into the mix. And then NC State, again, we've got Lex Ortega, Emily Shepard, and Chloe Negretti, all super seniors, along with Krista Zoltovich in her senior year, all making an impact on this floor lineup for the Wolfpack. So we've got some great gymnastics in this final rotation. Again, always excited to see what these teams are going to put up, especially as they come off. And they know it too. Their bodies know it. This is the final rotation. Now they get a little bit of a break. None of them have a dual meet coming up.
Yeah, it's like they can take a big breath almost because they've had so many meets back to back.
Absolutely. Some of these teams only practicing once or twice this past week. You can't really work on anything.
Right, but that kind of goes into the point of the autopilot. You know, at this point, not ideal on your body to have meet after meet, but mentally wise and skill wise, it's just like you could do it in your sleep.
And some of them, even when they're practicing, they're doing inner squads or mock meets just to keep that momentum going. So we are going to get started on beam. This is Emily's 6 for Texas women's.
And starts out over on vault to the right with Penn, a stuck Yurchenko full.
Absolutely. Isabel Song in their leadoff spot. Jessica Johansson for Penn State.
She starts off with that Tkachev release move down to the low bar with that pack salto. Notice on beam, there was that front toss and she tried to do that jump out of it. It was a little bit off. So I'm not sure what the judges will deduct for that combination. But we got a double layout stick over on bars.
Landings. So beam and bars hitting those landings as Katja Edwards leads off the Wolfpack floor team. Katja made her debut just a couple weeks ago on this event and hasn't, I'm gonna knock on wood now, but has not scored lower than a 9.8.
That's something too, when your leadoff is scoring a 9.8 or higher, that's setting up the rest of your lineup for high potential scores. And that's ultimately the job of a leadoff, right? Is to hit, and even better, to hit with a high score.
So Sarah Kenefick on vault for Pennsylvania. Final tumbling pass for Edwards.
Huge double back. Again, impressive that that's the height she's getting on her last pass. Wow, great job.
Yeah, fantastic routine out of the sophomore. This is the first tumbling pass that we missed.
I think that first pass was just as high as her last one.
Definitely. So great routine in the leadoff spot. This is Sophie Hernandez for Texas women's. And Maddie Johnston for Penn State.
Really nice blindfolded double tuck, another stick. The sticks are contagious today.
I didn't think they were normally contagious between teams, but we'll take it. This is Marissa Lassiter for Penn on vault. Great
Distance from the table to the landing. She had that hop, which is going to be a deduction. But a nice vault. Over on beam, we saw Sophie Hernandez do a back handspring, back layout acro series to start off the routine.
So Lex Ortega.
Then into the back handspring, 1.5. Small hop forward.
Huge tumbling pass.
Yeah, the landing could have been a little more controlled on that first pass.
Skylar Carrico finishing up her vault. Ortega actually out of the floor lineup the last couple of weeks, but ready to be back in, and it's senior day, so a great opportunity to really come back and help the team out. Penn State on the bars. This is Kalia McGillicott.
She's moving through this routine really nicely. On floor, ending with that front layout, front full. And then over on bars, another nice routine. Well done.
So fourth rotation is well underway, and these teams are fighting till the end. On the balance beam, Daisy Woodring.
It's so loud in here too. The crowd is so energetic. I feel like my head's just going left to right.
Kirsten Belkoff for Penn on vault.
And that was a nice Yurchenko half.
Very straight, I mean, perfectly straight body.
The execution on that was phenomenal. That is a blind landing, even though it's not quite the 1.5, it's still the same landing.
So Woodring finishing up her beam routine.
Round off 1.5. Didn't quite get the stick, but I loved how quick that cover up was.
Definitely just the tiniest of hops there as Krista Zoltovich gets ready for her floor routine. Again, Zoltovich, one of the seniors that will be recognized at the end of the competition. Back over to bars, Gabrielle Galentine.
We saw that Maloney down. Wow, another stock dismount for Penn State.
They are fighting till the end, that's for sure.
They absolutely are. I loved that bar routine. Just the form and the toe point throughout.
Zoltovich really having fun on this final floor routine on home turf. Jordan Barrow for Penn in the anchor spot on vault.
A nice Yurchenko full. That was a pretty significant hop backwards, so that's going to be a bit of a big deduction. On floor, ending with a double back. She almost did not have to take a lunge, but took a small step. Great job.
This is Emma Burlage for Texas women's on beam as Krista gets some high fives from her teammates.
A front toss combination. She had to make an adjustment midway through because she looked a little bit crooked on that landing. But then ends with the back handspring gainer full off the side.
So excellent job for Texas women's on beam. As we move back over to the uneven bars, Ava Piedrahita.
She starts with that Maloney down to the pack salto. just like on floor and beam, you have a rhythm. You still have a rhythm and cues on bars too. It's just harder to notice because you're on your hands the whole time.
Absolutely. Ashley Knight for the Wolfpack.
She's been someone that's so fun to watch, just full of power, and you'll see it right here. Starts with a front double full.
I remember the very first home meet for NC State and watching her, and she was so timid and very shy, and now it is a performance.
Yeah, she's broken out of her shell so much. That's one of my favorite things to watch with all these athletes, just seeing the confidence over the years, even over the meets that they have.
And it can be really tough, especially as a freshman, because in club gymnastics, it's not about the performance. It is, but it's the execution. In college, it's a show. You've got an audience to perform for.
That was one of my favorite parts about college, though, was floor and the performance, and honestly, the crowd that gets into it. Your teammates are on the side doing your routine too, but all around you, the atmosphere is really what gives you that adrenaline. There's no better feeling, truly. Getting ready for her last tumbling pass. Huge. Rudy, and she's supposed to do a back layout step out of that.
She is, yeah, almost didn't have the rotation.
Yeah, didn't have the rotation and missed that punch a bit. So we'll see what the judges take off on that.
So Steely King on beam for TWU. Unfortunately came off on her acro series. So Texas women's already counting a fall from the uneven bars, hoping that this will be the only one on beam. As Maggie Mace wraps up for Penn State on the uneven bars.
We've seen a lot of Penn State gymnasts do that Maloney down to the pack salto on bars. That last handstand looked a little short from our angle, but a nice double out to finish. Her head looked like it whipped a little back on that landing.
So not the beam routine that Steely King wanted, but again, she's still got her teammate Kaylin Hoyland that can pick everything back up.
Take another look here at this double out. Really nice throughout, but just jerked it a little bit at the end. So again, she did a great job covering it though. The deduction will come from that step, but it was almost like she wasn't ready for that landing. But not to take away from, you know, the landings are hard. Like they hurt your ankles and your feet, you know, it like almost sends a shock through your body. I remember we would always joke and be like, how hard is this landing? You know, at the different away meets we went to, the soft cushioning definitely was a lot of help when we got that.
Absolutely, and there we can see Emily Shepard and her all-around total so far this afternoon. She now owns the program record for highest all-around in NC State history, and the only gymnast to have an all-around counting 9 plus scores on all of the events. But yeah, you talk about those landings, and again, we see a lot of that on floor where they use the extra sting mats and that kind of thing to help relieve and alleviate some of the shock on their landings. I remember going from practice to like a hard basketball floor, essentially with mats on top of it, and that first meet is killer.
Absolutely. Your body has to get used to it.
This is an exhibition for Penn State on the uneven bars. Definitely had enough momentum to do a double layout.
Yeah, I wonder if that's almost just like a timer that she was doing for the time being, because it definitely looked like she had plenty of power.
So we've got a judges conference on floor and really discussing, again, that last pass out of Ashley Knight where she was supposed to do the layout step out, ended up doing a tucked-ish step out.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what they do take on that. because that is part of that combination pass, like we mentioned. And so not having that, she did do the combination, but the second skill wasn't. I don't know if they would count it as a skill.
I don't know if that is a skill in the code of points.
Right. Okay, let's take another look.
Yeah, let's look at this here. So this out of
the punch Rudy right here.
You can see how she's bending her legs. It's supposed to be straight legged, which is a layout step out. I don't know that that is an actual skill in the code of points.
So if it's not an actual skill, then you have to question, does that count as a combination of the two passes?
And then does she have enough bonus? Does she have the right, is that her two salto tumbling pass, which is a special requirement? There's a lot more that goes in.
It's like a domino effect.
It really is. And we had a judges conference on beam as well, but Madeline Gose is ready to finish up for Texas women's. Oh yes, my apologies. This is Caitlin Holland.
The front aerial. You could see she was a little bit off on that uprise after the front aerial, but made a good adjustment.
Still got the connection. Again, just kind of a little wobble in between, wiggle.
You'd be surprised if we watched balance beam from the front end of the beam. You would see majority of these athletes being so crooked and off, and they just cover it so well, you'd never know looking at it from the side. Extremely impressive. And ends with a stuck dismount.
A great routine out of Caitlin Holland as Texas women's finishes up. So Emily Shepard ready on floor. The judges came to an agreement on Knight's score.
We're gonna see some huge tumbling right here. Starts with a double pike. Dropped out of that like it was nothing.
Emily definitely has those cat-like reflexes where she knows exactly where she is in the air at any given time.
I think you hit it spot on, cat-like reflexes, and that's something you have to have as a gymnast. Second tumbling pass, front layout to front full.
Again, if you look at the top part of your screen, you can see all of the teammates doing the dance with her. So not only do they know their floor routines, they know everybody else's floor routines.
This is gonna be a big tumbling pass coming up for her right here. She can get a stick. And she stayed in bounds.
She did. She'll get a deduction for the foot coming up, but
beautiful routine. I mean, just huge power and tumbling throughout. Almost had that. We spoke too soon, but again, that's still solid for NC State.
All right, so taking another look at this humongous double pike to lead off.
Again, she just dropped right out of that on the landing. Last pass, she gets the exact same height on that, but that's the air awareness.
It almost, she knew she was close to the edge.
Right.
It traveled backwards more than she typically does, and so instead of taking a big lunge and going out, she took that small step, which didn't quite get her to where she needed to be.
And a good tumbling pass will have height, but it'll also have distance, and that's something you have to play around with when you're tumbling across the floor. You don't have unlimited, space. So all those things play into each tumbling pass.
So beam exhibition. This is Caroline Bounds.
A beautiful back handspring, back layout, acro series.
So Chloe Negretti in the anchor spot for the Wolfpack floor team. I believe we'll have an exhibition. But Chloe, like we talked about on beam, just so intense in her gymnastics, in her dance, in her execution.
She's just such a fierce competitor. I just think of the word fierce when I think of Chloe Negretti.
Fierce is a great way to describe her.
She started out with that double pike. She had a little too much power too, but covered it really well. Next tumbling pass, front full to a front layout.
Chloe, another one similar to Emily that just knows exactly where she's at. She knows exactly how long the diagonal is on these floor tumbling passes.
And you say cat-like reflexes, but on her jumps and her leaps, you see it as well. So looking for a stuck double tuck here. Almost had it bounced up on that one.
Just so much power, which again, it's an exciting day. It's senior day.
They're amped up.
They really are. And so to be able to control that is really difficult on a spring-loaded floor. But a fantastic job out of Negretti. We're going to take a look at her first and last pass.
Right here, she opens with a big double pike. I mean, wow, she saved that. She could have gone out of bounds easily or taken a couple steps.
I kept that front foot down, and this one just that bounce back.
Just a little hop. You can see she was debating, do I lunge? Do I stay with my feet together? But we do, you have to take into account, too, that it is their senior night. They're amped up. They've been doing so well, so nice job.
Season high for Negretti of a 9.925. I don't know if it'll quite be a 9.925. But a fantastic job on that floor routine as Madison Benson gets ready to exhibition. So Benson exhibitioned last weekend as well. Always fun to see all the hard work pay off, especially as a senior. And she's been in and out of the lineup in past seasons.
And she opened with a double pike. She had a lot of power on that, just broke out too early. So landed short on that. But the personality in this floor routine, I am loving. She's having a blast out there. That 1.5 front pike, great job on the save. That takes a lot of strength and muscles when saving a skill like that.
It absolutely does. And again, when you're not used to being in the lineup consistently, you almost try to overdo it on certain things.
Ending right here with a double tuck. And just, again, had so much power, just bounced out of it.
Absolutely. I think she, again, opened a little too early at the end for that. Held on it just a half a second longer. I think she would have had a perfect landing on that routine. So that's the final competitor for this Wolfpack team. A lot of great gymnastics this afternoon. What are just, again, some final thoughts overall?
I absolutely am just impressed with how this competition went. You can see over on the scores how close of a meet it was between NC State and Penn State. And then Penn with their 196, great job, just consistency throughout. Unfortunately for Texas women, they did have to count a fall, but they did a great job bouncing back on beam, which is a hard event to end on. But NC State should have a lot of confidence heading into their next couple meets, as well as Penn State. We knew that we were going to see some big gymnastics and some big scores, but overall, I was impressed with just the sticks that all the teams had. We saw so many sticks and just the attention to detail, which is what we expect, again, at this point in the season.
Absolutely. So NC State, the third time at 197 plus this season. Penn State, their second highest of the season barely by .025. And the University of Pennsylvania, a new season high for them. So